courthouse. Don't go anywhere. And our great health commissioner, Mike Martin, is with us today. He's going to be sharing with us here in a little bit. But we're going to go ahead and open the meeting this morning. And we would do that with a motion to accept the minutes of March 17th.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Crabtree.
Aye.
Ms. Coleman.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
In the matter of request for appropriation of funds,
Are there any questions or comments in regards to item 2? Hearing none.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Coleman.
Aye.
Mr. Crabtree.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
In the matter of accepting an amended certificate from the Budget Commission,
Questions or comments in regards to item 3? Hearing none.
Motion to accept.
I'll second.
Mr. Crabtree.
Aye.
Ms. Coleman.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
In the matter of request for appropriation transfer of funds,
Questions or comments in regards to item 4? Hearing none.
I will make a motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Coleman.
Aye.
Mr. Crabtree.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
In the matter of approving payment of the regular scheduled accounts for the various funds, moral obligations, and then amount certificates in the total amount of $77,965.97.
Questions or comments in regards to item 5? Hearing none.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Mr. Crabtree.
Aye.
Ms. Coleman.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
In the matter of accepting miscellaneous reports,
Questions or comments in regards to item 6? Hearing none.
I'll make a motion to accept.
Second.
Ms. Coleman.
Aye.
Mr. Crabtree.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
In the matter of accepting miscellaneous notices of reduction in services and closures,
Questions or comments in regards to item 7? Hearing none.
Motion to accept.
Second.
Mr. Crabtree.
Aye.
Ms. Coleman.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
In the matter of communication from the Sheriff's Department regarding fully executed copy of memorandum of understanding regarding vehicle transfer to the Scioto County Prosecutor's Office.
Questions or comments in regards to item 8? Hearing none.
I make a motion, I am not accepting this as it hasn't run through our office before today. So,
Set up a motion to deny.
to deny.
Second.
Ms. Coleman.
Aye.
Mr. Crabtree.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
For clarification, this is a motion to deny?
Yes.
Aye. Okay. Ms. Coleman, would you have anything additional?
Not at this time.
Mr. Crabtree?
Yes, I do. There were some comments made on Tuesday's meeting, none of which were intended to offend anybody in Scioto County. However, from some of the reaction that I've seen on social media, I think some people may have been offended, and for that I apologize. And I have a prepared statement that I'm going to read. And with that, I will do that. And this will clarify our position here. The Scioto County Board of Commissioners is very aware of the dangers that exist with this current pandemic, and we are committed to working with state officials on finding solutions to keep the residents of Scioto County safe. Over the past few weeks, we have been taking the necessary steps to prevent exposure to the public and employees in the courthouse. We have also been in close contact with our EMA, health departments, and other officials, and have attended many meetings to date to prepare and plan for this. We are also working to inform the public on a daily and sometimes hourly basis on new developments. My biggest concern is for the children that have been sent home when the schools were closed, and I know that we are seeing the best of our Scioto County step forward and provide meals for these children. I applaud them for their efforts and am mindful that because this all happened so quickly, I fear that some children may be overlooked in the process. I know that businesses are hurting and some families are struggling to get through this. I've seen firsthand the desperation on the faces of our citizens, and it is heartbreaking. Let me be clear. I voiced my opinion on Tuesday, and some of my words were not carefully chosen. The state of Ohio is doing all they can do to help our fellow citizens through this, and I had serious concerns about the constitutionality of the decision to postpone the election. I hope that you understand that my heart, soul, and love is behind the citizens of Scioto County. We are living in unprecedented times, and we will continue to work hard for you. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
And I will comment on Mike's statement. In Tuesday's meeting, we were asked a question by Mr. Scioto, who is with Scioto Voice. The question was, do you agree with the decision, and then he clarified the latest decision of the governor's decision to close the polls? And my answer was to that question. And I did disagree with his decision, but it wasn't, my censure was due to the timing and the planning of his decision and the announcement of his decision, not in any way against closing the polls for the safety of our citizens of the state of Ohio. And with that being said, there was so much negative information that or comments coming out, and it truly upset me, because there's a lot of people out there that don't know me personally, and they don't know these gentlemen, and I wish they did, because there is no way that any one of us would put the decision to have an election over the welfare of people who are, have weakened conditions or are at risk, for children, for anyone. I had a mother who worked the polls till she was 80 years old, and the only reason she stopped was because she had to have a double knee replacement, which she did at the same time. And I know if they needed her right now, she's 90, she would be there. I had grandchildren. It is just unbelievable to me that a comment could make people come to the conclusion that we do not care. It's just, I can't even put my head around it. So, for clarification, the dangers to this whole country's, the dangers to them through this COVID-19 is paramount of importance compared to anything else. So I just wanted to add to that, and I do apologize if anything that I said was misinterpreted, because it certainly was not in disapproval of what the governor is doing. But I answered the question that was asked of me, and that was it. I thank you all for letting me voice my opinion, and Mike's as well.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. And not a whole lot more than I could say that they haven't already said. But again, collectively, we would never do anything that would put the safety of the citizens above anything, or or under anything. Actually, it's always paramount, of course. And we are living in unprecedented times, as Mike said. And what everybody needs to understand is that we took an oath to the Ohio Constitution, and we took that oath very seriously. And we actually had people contacting us saying, hold the election anyways. What they've done is unconstitutional. We got those calls, we got those texts, and as of 10:20 Monday night, that was true. So, with the judge's order and all of that, there are separation of powers, there are due process, and those things are very, very important to our constitutional republic. They're vital. We are living in unprecedented times, And in this case, there are powers under the Ohio Revised Code that gives the Director of Health the powers to do what was done. So that was upheld by the Ohio Supreme Court early in the morning of the next day. But up to that point, you also have a situation where it is not the governor's call, and it is not today, nor is it the Director of Health, nor is it the Ohio Supreme Court that can set the date for a new election. That power 100% resides in the legislature of the state of Ohio, the General Assembly. They're going to weigh in on this at some point. They may choose to make June the 2nd that date. They may move it up. Because really June 2nd is what I'm understanding is one of the last dates they could have a primary election and it not have a conflict. So that may be where that date came from. I don't know why that date was set. There should have been consultation with the legislature before coming up with that date. That was not done, and the Speaker of the House and the Senate President have weighed in on that. They have not called the General Assembly back yet, but they will be meeting in the near future to discuss this. And at that point, they'll weigh in because they have their oath statement. They have to do what they've been constitutionally asked to do in their positions. But I think we have never questioned the decision to hold off the election. The question was the timing of the delay, and of course the fallout that resulted from that all across this state. So it's water under the bridge at this point, but and I myself will say the same thing. If something I've said has offended somebody or caused any kind of angst of any kind, I would apologize the same way, because I think in these times we need to be willing to understand that things are very emotionally charged right now. People have lost jobs. People are wondering where their next paycheck's going to come from. They're wondering how fast am I going to get my unemployment. There's people that are wondering if they're even qualified for unemployment. I got calls yesterday, I haven't been at my job long enough to qualify. Are they going to waive the minimum standard for having worked at a place long enough? I haven't done that. People just got jobs. People that literally, because of this economy, literally just got jobs and were enjoying their first paychecks are now thrown right back into the mix of the unemployed. So if anybody wonders what kind of impact that's having, the normal, I read this statistic day before yesterday, the normal daily intake for unemployment requests were like 2,000 a day. That number jumped to 50,000 in one day. So, and yesterday's orders will only increase those numbers dramatically. This will have a major impact on everyday people, all walks of life throughout our community. And one thing that Mike actually alluded to is we've said in meetings with people that this is having a great impact on. And when you sit in those meetings and you see their faces, you see the worry, you see the fear. But I want to say this, Scioto County is very resilient. We have gotten through things as worse as this. We have come through, and we will be stronger when we're done. When we get through this, we will be a stronger community. Why? Because we're going to discover new friends through this. We're going to discover that we have the most giving county of anywhere else in the world, that we have friends and neighbors that love each other and want to see each other prosper. And yes, we're going to go through a hard time. We already are. But we will prevail and we will overcome. There's no doubt in my mind. The reason I say that is because in my lifetime I've seen it. I've seen us overcome. I've seen us prevail. I've never seen a pandemic. None of us have, of this nature or of this magnitude. But we're going to get through it. And we're going to get through it because we're a close-knit community, and there's a lot of love in our community. And we all need to remember that every one of us has challenges of our own, and we're trying to deal with those in our own way. And each one of us will have to do that, but we will be okay. We're going to get through this, and we're going to get through it together. So let's keep that in mind. Okay,
And I can only recommend, we all pray for
Yes.
this situation and everyone that's affected.
Absolutely. Prayer still works, and I'll say that today. Yes. Yes, sir. Press.
Question about procedural matter. City council has called off their next 2 meetings this coming Monday and off the 13th of April.
I saw that yesterday.
Restricted, no public involved in meetings except council members. Do you have any thought on that, Brian? As far as county commissioners?
Okay, as far as us, I'm not going to comment on what they're doing. Again, they need to make their decisions on what they think is best. What we've done today, if you look around the room, we don't have more than 10 people. We're practicing social distancing. We actually let our employees know that if they have not been called to the meeting, if they don't have official business in our meetings, they don't need to be in our meetings. In other words, we're trying to keep the population down in this room. We feel it's important, and so does the Supreme Court Justice, the head of the Ohio Supreme Court, that the courthouse remains open, that business continues. There's reasons for that. We need to keep, of course, we have to keep government running here. And there are ways to limit the exposure. Dr. Martin will definitely be addressing some of this here in a minute. But at this time, we are staying away from our, each other. We're doing what they're asking us to do, and until things change or we receive different orders from above, from the state or from the county health department, then we will continue to operate accordingly. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. On the agenda, item number 8, that motion was denied. Can you expound on that a little bit? Involve the way it reads, it's a vehicle transfer.
Yes.
Is that referencing one vehicle? Is it referencing more than one vehicle?
It's one vehicle.
And why did you
Well,
shoot it down?
we received this correspondence. It was a letter from Captain Woodford to the Scioto County Commissioners, subject vehicle transfer to Scioto County Prosecutor's Office. Following vehicles being transferred to the Scioto County Prosecutor's Office. 2012 Dodge Charger patrol car, serial number, and I'm not going to read it because it's long, 68,000 miles. We have no objections to the county commissioners transferring this vehicle to the Scioto County Prosecutor's Office. There was a memorandum of understanding signed by both parties. We were rejecting it because it is not the decision of anyone but the commissioners on whether or not to allow that to happen, and there was no request to do the transfer to begin with. So before asking us to accept a contract, I believe there's due process that needs to be done.
Clarification's sake, that the commissioners would have to request that be transferred?
No, they would need to request that it be okay to do it. I think you need to ask. This is something that's, I think has happened in the past, and I think the best way to control our fleets, to make sure that these cars go to appropriate places, and I'm not saying that, I am a little concerned that there's a car that has 68,000 miles on it's being transferred out of our sheriff fleet. I don't understand that. That is low miles. So we have older cars than this that haven't been transferred yet. So I'm not exactly sure what this is about. So we'll have conversations with both parties to find out why that's happening. And as I said, we need to make sure that our fleets are, that this is adequately maintained. You know that we've had problems in the past, and we're not trying to pick a fight here. We want due process here, and this is not the way this is supposed to happen. It's my understanding this is not the way this is supposed to be done. So we need to research this first. Okay.
Commissioners, perhaps you can call me. When I made the motion, you have a second. Do you have any comment on it? Or did that take care of it?
Well, let's go back. There's an issue with vehicles that are out of use, out of service, and so things have gotten a little fuzzy. So I think from this point forward, let's do this correct way, and it's not that we We do have some questions. It's not that we do not want them to have the car, but let's just do this properly from this point forward so that there are no more issues like the vehicles out at Belford's.
So it has happened in the past, where the commissioners are aware of that kind of breakdown and
Yeah, there was a situation not too long ago where there had been arrangements in between offices and had left this office out of the mix. These cars are titled to the Board of County Commissioners. There needs to be due process. There is a method to do that. This is skipping what I would call step one. Okay, so but we'll talk to the prosecutor's office. I mean, like Commissioner Coleman said, this may still happen, but there's a proper process for this to happen. And rule of law and due process is very important. We need to make sure that we're doing that. Very important. So we'll get it.
You know, they're supposed to do the request first. That's my understanding. And that wasn't done that way, so.
I just have one more question on the agenda, on item number 7, on the reduction of services.
Yes.
Closures. The decision to close the offices or keep them open, the curbside service, if you will, is that made by each elected official?
Yes, sir.
Or is that made by commissioners as an aggregate?
By the officials, the elected officials, and we are keeping everyone up to date on our Facebook page. We would recommend they go to Scioto County Commissioners on Facebook. On our website, we have put a link on the front of the website page because we want it all at one point. We don't want multiple places to go for information. So if you go to our website, you'll see a link that says, if you click it, it goes straight to the Facebook page. And the Facebook page will have all of the rundowns of all these restrictions, public office access information, changes, and we do it as it happens, and we will update it as things change. So it is an elected official's responsibility and their decision on how their office is ran. We are more about our office, Scioto County Commissioner's office. We're involved in, of course, Department of Job and Family Services as well. But those are decisions that we can make, and the building itself. And as I mentioned before, the Supreme Court has weighed in and said that for now they would prefer courthouses to be kept open for business. Now I will say this, and Dr. Martin will know what I'm about to say. Things can change, and the Director of Health and the Health Commissioner can exercise broad powers in the future if that needs to be done. But we want to remind everybody, we don't have a confirmed case as of this morning, okay, in Scioto County. We do have several being tested, and that is public knowledge. But right now, that is not the case, and there has not been any such order. But what we're seeing is we see several office holders, out of an abundance of caution, trying to limit the exposure to the public. Okay?
Thank you.
All right.
That's all.
Brian,
Yes, sir.
people can still transact some business through the auditors and the treasurer's office online. I think they can.
And the
pay
recorder.
tax bills
The recorder, too.
They can access recorder's records online. So if you have a computer and you have internet, you still can get deed copies, you can get, you can get documents, and you can pay tax bills, and you can do certain things online. Now, obviously, for people that are in, like out in the Brush Creek area and that, where there's not, there are places where there's no internet available, and some of those folks, would be kind of limited to what they could do. But anybody that has access to Wi-Fi and has a computer, they can pretty much take care of business online on those offices, because they will be staffed. They just won't be accepting anybody in to the courthouse. So,
Thank you.
And we are posting those notices, and those notices have email addresses and phone numbers really pay attention to the phone numbers. You can conduct a lot of business on the phone, like Mike said. So please do that. The whole idea is to limit social interaction. And these things have been deemed as important and proven that they work. So let's do our part as citizens to help the situation. Okay? Anything else? Okay. Well, at this time, I'm going to ask Dr. Martin, if you would. We actually have a podium set up, all right? And he's going to address some of the things that are being done and whatever else he may have. If I don't know if the picture or the video could be put on him. Side shot this morning, basically. I didn't know if it could be adjusted to have him, or if he's able to be seen right now. Okay, he's able to be seen. Dr. Martin, thank you for coming and being with us today. We talked yesterday evening and thought it was really great to have you come and speak to the people. There's a lot of people watching and will be watching throughout the day, and this would be a great opportunity for you to be able to get a big message out there. So we appreciate you coming.
Oh, well,
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. As you know, my name is Dr. Michael Martin. I'm the Scioto County Health Commissioner. And we've been working a lot on this COVID-19 pandemic. As you know from the news, it's a major issue in the area. We do not have any cases, but we do have people that are being tested. Southern Ohio Medical Center does have a drive-up testing venue. They ask that you please call 740-356-CARE, C-A-R-E, to be pre-screened to see if you do qualify for testing. We can't test everybody at this time because we don't have enough test kits, so we're trying to limit those to appropriate people. We have over 50 people who have been tested, and we're waiting to hear the results. We've had probably less than 20, and they've had negative results, so we're very, very happy about that. I talked to Dr. Aaron Adams last night. He's over at the next couple of days. If you want to be tested and you go and get tested, you will be asked to self-quarantine. You'll be given a letter from the health commissioner, signed by me and the city health commissioner, asking you to quarantine until you are told that your tests are negative. By quarantine, we mean stay in your house. Household contacts should, in a way, self-quarantine. They can actually leave as long as that test is negative for now, but we're asking them to limit their contacts like we're asking everybody else to limit their contacts. If you are positive, you will be placed in isolation at the house. This will be a legal requirement and, of course, a request from your fellow members of the community to help keep them safe. And that may last up to 14 days. We really haven't decided how long, or if we'll have to have another test to be sure that you're not make sure that you're COVID-free. We haven't had that discussion yet because we haven't had anybody in isolation. But for now, you'll have to be self-isolated and you will not be allowed out of your house. We will use guards if needed. We've been in constant contact again with Portsmouth City and EMA and the hospital. And I'm confident that we can handle this. The problem is if everybody gets sick at once and everybody comes in at once, I don't think we'll be able to handle it. So that's why we want you to social distance and not spread this virus if you have it. If you look at the data coming out of China, 80% of people who get this will have mild symptoms. 20% will have severe. Of that, 5% will require critical care. So if this affects 10% of Scioto County, over 1,000 people will probably require hospitalization and oxygen, and 350 will require ventilatory assistance. If everybody comes at once, we don't have 350 vents in Scioto County. However, if we slow it down, we do have a lot of vents up there. And they've got more released from the state of Ohio, so they got extra vents. So, you know, SOMC is prepared for this, but we can't have everybody get sick at once. And again, that's why we have to social distance, wash your hands. If you're sick, stay home. We still have tons of flu out there. The flu season is not yet over. Daily, we're getting influenza A and B reports down at the health department. That can be confused with this. It's best if you If you have a fever, stay home. You should stay home for 24 hours after your fever has gone away and you haven't used any Tylenol or Motrin or anything like that. So you should be afebrile without any medications for 24 hours before you come back to work for regular flu. For COVID-19, stay tuned. What else would you like to know?
No, that's it. That's good. Any of the press have any questions?
I've got several, if you
Sure.
don't mind. First one would be, what steps are being taken to protect healthcare workers? Is there anything preventative that they have to go through?
Well, they are screening we are screening people for fevers and things like that. Healthcare workers, when someone thinks they've been exposed to COVID, they're supposed to gown up and wear eye goggles and an N95 mask and protective gear. The problem with that is we have a limited supply of that. That is why they've canceled all elective surgeries that use that kind of gear. So, routine colonoscopies, scopes, things like that, hernia repairs have been canceled because they want to keep that material for people that are going to come in with COVID-19 to protect the healthcare workers. And it's very important we protect them because if they go down, who's going to take care of us, right? So we need to protect them, and people need to be honest when they come in and explain their symptoms honestly. Don't expand because they want tested because they're worried. If you're worried, just stay home. Eventually, we'll be able to test everybody, I think, who wants to be tested. But we don't have that capability today. I have spoken to the hospital. They think in a few weeks, 4 weeks maybe, and I'm guessing, I'm not a spokesman for them, but they may have a machine that can run those tests within 6 hours. There are other companies that are developing. Roche is developing a rapid test that can do it 10 times faster than what we can do it right now. So if we slow this down, it gives us time for the guys and the people, and the men and women in the back room, the researchers and the virologists and everyone to get prepared so they can bring all this on board so we can decrease that mortality rate.
Given what you just said, currently, how long does it take to get the results back currently?
LabCorp, they usually send them off there. It's 3 to 5 days.
Okay. And has interest in testing increased dramatically in our county over the last week?
Yes. The hotline that the hospital's running they're answering 250 calls at least a day, and I'm getting texts and we're getting calls down at the city health department as well as the county health department.
Okay. If there's one thing that you want the public to know about this whole situation, since there's a lot of misinformation out there, what would it be? What would be the one thing that you want the general public to know about how to prepare for the prevention of this
Right.
and stay healthy?
Well, I have a couple of things. One is no panic, number one. Number two is if you just have the sniffles, you have mild symptoms, you don't need to run to your primary care provider, but if you can call them and talk to them about your symptoms to see if you do need to be tested for this. There are people all over this country that are getting tested. I think people in Cuyahoga County or up there where it's community spread are much more likely than we are. If you look at the map right now, Appalachia is pretty safe. Is that because we don't travel as much as they do in Cleveland? Maybe so. I know people travel back and forth, but we don't travel as much as they do. And with the governor shutting down the schools, that helped us a lot because I've been here 25 years practicing medicine. I can tell you 2 weeks later when school started, based on my patients coming in with cough and fever, because that's, in my mind, how it spreads. It gets into the schools, the kids get it, and then it goes up to the parents and the grandparents. And by shutting down the schools before we had any cases, I think that really helped us out a lot. So I'm very, very impressed by that. So.
In my experience all these years, by around 1 May, usually the regular flu is waned.
Right.
Is this pandemic, is this following the same pattern, doctor, or is this totally different?
We're hopeful that it will, because if this spreads through droplets, coughing and all that, it goes out in the air. Well, if we have humid environments, that moisture captures those particles and they fall to the ground, and then they're no longer infectious. We don't know a lot about this virus. We're looking at other countries to see how it's spreading. South Korea, it's spread a lot, but if you look at Singapore, there's less spread. Germany, northern Italy, and is it better in humid environments? You still see transfer, but there's not as much. and we're hoping we can, get our hands on that, especially come summer. So we're hopeful that summer it may drop off dramatically, and then we can really isolate those people and kind of prevent the more transmission.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Martin. We really appreciate you being here today, and as events unfold, you always have an open mic here, okay?
Okay.
And this is one way. I know that typically by the time that if they're not watching it now, by the time others look and watch this, we usually have several thousand that watch this particular meeting, and it would be a wonderful way for you to get message out if you needed to let
Okay.
the community know what's going on.
Thank you
Thank you
very
so
much.
much. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Do you have anything else
I have nothing.
for the good of the order? Anyone else? Okay, all right. Can we get a motion to recess?
If there are no more questions, I will make a motion to recess.
Second.
Ms. Coleman.
Aye.
Mr. Crabtree.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful day. We have an emergency order. If we have to do the emergency